Nama Sreshtham Manumapi Shachi Putram Matra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupurim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Mahorajika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Prasita Kripaya Sri Guru Tanatosmi Nindantam Pulakotkarena Vikasat Nipa Prasuna Chavim Pradvi Kritya Bhujadvayam Hari Hari Chuchairvadhantam Nretyantam Drutamasru Nirjarachayaiha Sinchantam Urvitaram Gayantam Nijapashadaih Parivritam Tam Gaurachandram Stumaha Alibhih Paripalitah Pravalitah Sanandamalokitah Pratyasam Sumanah Phalodaya Vidho Samodamamoditah Brindaranya Bhuvi Prakasha Madhura Sarvatishayi Sriya Radha Madhavayo Pramodayatu Mam Ullalasakalpadrumaha Radha Madhavayo Pramodayatu Mam Ullalasakalpadrumaha Jaya Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Echai Gosai Rakuri Charana Vandam Jaha Haite Vignana Shabhishta Puram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Jai Sri Radhe. And as usual, this is making some trouble, but we continue. Right. Priti Sandarbha. So we are talking about the problems, certain problems that are arising. Now the problems are coming from where? The problems are coming from the Puranic texts themselves, from the stories. We're making some principle here. It's trying to draw a principle. Excuse me. So he's trying to draw a principle, and then he has to support it from the Shastra. He has to support it from the Lila. So we can say a great many things about seeing Krishna through sadhana. But the people who are in the Nitya Lila, who are there in the Avatar Lila, when they're actually faced with the very image, when Krishna himself is personally present in front of them. So some people see him, some people don't see him. So why don't they see him? Why are they unable to see him? Why do they say, and in the Krishna Sandarbha, he even went to say that it's not Krishna they're seeing, but they're seeing some facsimile of Krishna. They don't see the real Krishna. Just like we're saying, you don't see the real me. Everybody hungers to have the real me be seen. So Krishna also hungers to have his real me be seen. So Krishna wants to be seen. So he has a power of self-revelation that gets activated. So the key, if one wants to see God, is to know how to activate that power he has of self-revelation. So even if you see Krishna directly face to face, a pure devotee will recognize where Krishna is and where Krishna is not. But ordinary people don't recognize. And so you have Mallana, Mashanir, Nranang, Naravara, Strinang, Smarak Murtiman, this kind of thing. Mrityu Bhojapate, Virara Vidusham, Tattvang Parang Yoginam, Vrishninam Paradevi Deiti, Rangam Gatak Sagrajaha. Now Krishna is in all these different various ways that he's being perceived by other people, according to their level of knowledge. So even in the Lila. So that's where we're starting. That's the starting point. So now the question is, all right, so these people saw him. Why didn't they see him? What was the problem? How is it possible that they could be there with Krishna present and still they don't see Krishna? And what about Krishna's associates also? Sometimes we see that they're not so perfect either. You know, they're doing silly things, akrura and so on, and so on. They're not behaving perfectly, even though they're devotees of Krishna, and they should be purified of all material desires. How is it possible? If seeing Krishna means that if you see Krishna, the idea is that if you see Krishna, then you're supposed to be purified of all material desires. But then we see that in Krishna Lila, there are some people who don't get purified of their material desires. You have Duryodhana and so on. They remain in that. So now what is the cause of this? So there are different causes, of course. So now, and also, we might become confused. We see the Yadavas are fighting amongst themselves over Vishaya, right? Or that the Pandavas also are quarreling. And so we see all these inner problems within this framework of a Vaishnava society of pure devotees. So if they're all pure devotees, if they all love Krishna, so why are they arguing amongst themselves? Why are they fighting amongst themselves, right? Why are these different things happening? So there's so many different situations now that Jiva Goswami is bringing up, all related to the idea of seeing Krishna, right? So we had seeing Krishna, antak darshana, antak sakshatkara. Because where are we here? I'll just explain to you where we are in Priti Sandarbha. This is Priti Sandarbha. You read Priti Sandarbha before? You know Priti Sandarbha. Okay, so Priti Sandarbha is the sixth of the Sandarbhas. Yeah? It's the end. It's the Prayojan Tattva. So now Jiva Goswami is presenting all the tattvas of the Bhagavatam in orderly fashion, in a systematic fashion. He's trying to present it in a very systematic fashion, like the Vedanta, but even, you know, as a coherent philosophy. Okay, so now he's presenting it in terms of, so why in Gaudiya Vaishnavism we always talk about Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan. This is coming from the Sandarbhas, because the Sandarbhas, you have first the four Sambandha Tattva, you know, the Tattva Sandarbha, Bhagavat Sandarbha, Paramatma Sandarbha, and Sri Krishna Sandarbha. These are all explaining Sambandha Tattva. And then after Sambandha Tattva, which is next, you get after Sambandha Tattva, you have the Abhideya Tattva. So Abhideya Tattva is Bhakti. Now Priti Sandarbha is the last, sixth. And now it tells you what the prayojan is. So what's the prayojan tattva? So we've heard in our sampradaya very succinctly, we say, Preman Pumarto Mahan. Krishna Prema Panchama Purushartha Jar Agi Trinatulya Chari Purushartha. हम कहते हैं ना, we say like that. So jar agi trinatulya chari purushartha. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the goals of human society. These are what human beings search normally. But if one has Krishna prem, then all these other goals of life are trinatulya. So Krishna prayojan, the prayojan tattva that he's talking now in the end, he's going to say, now this is the ultimate goal. And now he has to start. So when you start, where do you start? Where does the question start? Well, why do we do anything? You have to understand the psychology, human being, what is he doing? How do we start? We start from where? Right? So everybody is acting for pleasure. It goes towards pleasure and away from danger. It goes towards happiness and away from unhappiness. If something makes it happy, then it goes to there. Even sometimes if it's dangerous, it goes there because it, happiness, danger, happiness, danger, happiness. So the two, danger, happiness is like a on-off, like a binary, like a computer, right? Yeah, oscillating between one and the other. So now he says, how to solve this problem? Well, there's two ways of solving the problem. One is you turn it off, or the other one is you channel that energy in another direction, right? So the Maya body, the Brahma body, he wants to turn off the machine, so that there's no more happiness and no more distress. I'm just indifferent to everything, all the same. So he says, but Jiva Goswami says, no, through bhakti we can attain atyanta sukha praptihi, atyantika sukha praptihi, and atyantika dukkha nivritti. So now this is the absolute. So here we can get, so this is like the basis from which he's starting. So now he has to prove this point, right? So now what does he mean? What does he mean? How can you say atyantika dukkha nivritti? How can you? So he has to explain many different things in this relationship, right? The idea, for instance, there's too many things. I'm not going to explain all the things. Already we're only at the 7th Anuccheda, but we've come a long way. So I'm not going to explain everything. I'm just going to start right in here with with today's subject, okay? And not try to explain everything to you, but you're in. But the subject that we're talking about now is about seeing Krishna. And now Jiva Goswami is raising the question. All right. The role of Lila Shakti in apparent enmity of God. Okay? I'm trying to make this very short. What is it actually talking about? So we're cutting these into smaller pieces and then saying what exactly is Jiva Goswami saying in this little section here. All right? So the role of Lila Shakti. So now he's been talking about the way that devotees are behaving, right? So devotees are sometimes behaving in such a way that it's not really appropriate, we would say, behavior for a devotee. There are many examples can be given of this, but usually the best example probably is the whole Syamantaka episode there in Dwarka Lila. But that's not what he's saying here. So he's going to talk about that in a different way. He wants to say the following. So let's just jump right into here to see what Jiva Goswami is saying. So kvachit cha Lila Shaktir Eva Swayam Tada Lila Madhuryo Poshaya Pratikuleshu Anukuleshu Cha Atmopakaraneshu Tadrisha Shakting Vinyasya Tadrisha Tata Priya Jananam Api Vishaya Veshadi Abhasam Sampadayati. Again, so Kvachitcha Lila Shaktireva. So sometimes also. He says it's the Lila Shakti who's doing it. So Krishna, just like he says that when at the beginning of the Rasa Lila, it says, Bhagavana Pita Ratri, Sharadot Fulla Mallika, Diksha Rantum Manaschakre, Yogamaya Samasrita. It says Yogamaya Samasrita. So Krishna, he allows the Lila Shakti. The Lila, it's like a program, right? Nowadays we have this, you see. We're all gods, you could say, in our own way. We have Google and we have Facebook and we have 100 different programs who are all attacking us in every way to try to get our attention, right? YouTube feeding us videos and things that will attract our attention. But Krishna is also, his attention is also being attracted by the devotees competing for his attention. All right, so Sat Lila Shakti Reva, so the Lila Shakti knows what Krishna wants. You see, it's like a program. It's like a Google or Facebook, you see, that knows the program, knows what Krishna wants, right? And so the Lila Shakti arranges that this should go on for Krishna's play, for Krishna's Lila. So when Krishna is coming into the material world, then he's going to have Leelas. So these Leelas are going to serve different functions, different purposes. Some Leelas will be to amaze and convince people that this is Krishna. Other times he'll be giving practical instruction. Sometimes he'll be giving real teachings, you see. So we believe in Krishna, that Krishna, why do we? Because mainly it's because of the teachings. All right, but at any rate, then after the teachings, then we start to think about the Lila Madhurya. All right, so Kvachitcha Lila Shakti Reva Swayam. So the Lila Shakti takes matters into its own hands. The Lila Shakti acts independently of Krishna. The Lila Shakti acts independently of Krishna, okay, in order to please him. Because if he was conscious of everything, that would be good, but it wouldn't be so much interesting or so much fun, right? A little bit of a challenge. Sometimes Krishna wants to have something that's a little bit more interesting, let's say. So the Lila Shakti does something a little bit more interesting for Krishna's pleasure. Right? So Lila Shakti, so Krishna's going for his avatar. So when he's going for his avatar, it's like he's going out on an adventure. Krishna's going out on an adventure. So Tad Lila Shakti Reva Swayam, Tad Lila Madhurya Poshaya. So for what purpose? The Lila Shakti, in order to Tad Lila Madhurya Poshaya, in order to increase the sweetness of that particular Lila. Tadrisha Shakting Vinyasya Pratikuleshu Anukuleshu Cha Atmopakaraneshu. So Atmopakaraneshu here means for the Atma Upakaranas, it means the different elements, the different ingredients that she uses to mix together for Krishna's Lila. So those things sometimes are positive in nature and sometimes are negative. They appear negative in nature. So she puts into them such a kind of a potency into these situations, or creates such situations, where tadrisha tatpriya jananam api vishaya veshadya bhasam sampadayati. She puts in them certain kinds of energies that make it appear that even Krishna's own beloved associates are also attached to material things. Okay, so now you're going to understand here that the story of Krishna is an ongoing story. If Krishna wasn't, if this story was not going on in the world today, right now, then we wouldn't be really understanding anything about what is being spoken of, because what is spoken of are eternal principles. and eternal principles simply become revealed in more detail, in more depth of understanding. So here, in both positive and negative conditions, those are all conditions here. So what's he talking about? The upakaranas, the different conditions for the Lila to take place. So Krishna's Lila is taking place. It needs elements. We need to have, a vishaya, an asraya, uddipanas. We need to have all these uddipanas. And then there's so many other elements that go into the creation of rasa. So in this particular case, you have pratikula situations and anukula situations. No story. So the basic understanding of all of rasa is that there has to be a story. Right? So Lila, Shakti means she's the one who's writing the story. All right? And Krishna and Radha are playing it out, or Krishna and the other associates are playing it out. And there are 100,000 stories that are told about all the different aspects of Krishna, who is the supreme Nayaka, who is the Purushottama. So Lila Shakti, for the sake of the Purushottama, and for the sake of all the infinite tiny ordinary jivas also, they're also being prodded by the Lila Shakti. They enter into the Lila Shakti. It's the Lila, their own Lila. You have the Lila of the devotee, the Lila of the devotee, the archetypal devotee, the Bilva Mangala Thakur, the Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, the Rupa and Sanatana, these archetypal devotees like the gopis. They gave up everything in order to attain the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to attain the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. So they become the model archetypal devotees that also inspire pure devotion. So in the life of each devotee, there are anukul and pratikul situations. There's no story. There's no meaning. Even Jiva Goswami says in his commentary to Ujjvala Nilamani that the gopis in the Nitya Lila, their love is just flowing along normally. In the material world, there's some pratikula situation that arises. So in the pratikula situation, the gopis reveal how powerful is this attachment that they have to Krishna. Yeah. That it transcends all consideration for dharma, all consideration for their atmiya swajan, their own personal friends and relatives. So, pratikula and anukula, it's all for the tat madhurya poshaya. So, lila madhurya poshaya. It's all to increase the lila madhurya. That's the point. So that Krishna gets more rasa, and so that the bhaktas get more rasa. Everybody gets more rasa because the story is good. Right? And so it creates some barriers that need to be overcome. Otherwise, there's no story, and it becomes dull, and everybody forgets. But the external part of the story is not as important as the internal part of the story, where the archetypes exist in a kind of a pure form. Because those are static. And so, in a sense, without that static central point, all the external movement can't really take place. It becomes disoriented. So, Lila Shakti, however, is infusing such a kind of a potency into these different objects within the Lila, the different things that happen, the Syamantaka money and the who stole my money and so on and so on and so on. And Krishna did it. It was Krishna's fault. And all this that's going on. And so that all that drama that's being created around the Syamantaka money. So in that story, a lot of people are behaving badly. Akrura is not behaving so nicely. And Nagnajit is not behaving so nicely. So these are all direct associates. They're family members of Krishna. They see him every day. They're working with him. They have to go to, if there's a war, they have to fight side by side. Hmm? These are the generals, and these are the higher ups in the Yadava hierarchy, the ones who are right next to Krishna, side by side. Akrura is like an uncle, his uncle. And yet these people are acting selfishly for the Syamantaka money. And they even go so far as to blame Krishna, that Krishna was the one who arranged all of it. So that's, of course, would have been a great offense, no? All right, so all that's Lila Shakti. All right, Lila Shakti is creating it in order to illustrate certain points for the benefit of the audience, right? There's no story without a moral. So there has to be some moral behind all these stories. And of course, the story is that God always wins. But it's not a bad thing to lose to God. Right. So, Tadrisha Tatpriya Jananamapi Vishaya Veshadhyabhasam Sampadayati. So the Lila Shakti creates within the devotees, the most dear, close devotees, the appearance of attachment to material things. Now the example that he's going to give here is quite interesting, because it doesn't appear to really, sometimes you think, well, this is what you would expect an example to give. But here, the point is that he gives the example from the Putana Varnanam. So we'll come to that in a second. So here's the translation. Sometimes, however, the Lila Shakti herself, in order to nourish the sweetness of Bhagavan's pastimes, places such a power in things, both favorable and unfavorable, that makes even those who are dear to Krishna experience a semblance of absorption in sense objects. So we're using that word semblance, abhasa. So Vishaya Vesha Abhasa. Vishaya Vesha Adya Abhasa. So just like we have Nama Abhasa, and we've been seeing we had Sakshatkara Abhasa. So from the other side, so Sakshatkara Abhasa, that's from our side, right? That what we see is the Abhasa of a Sakshatkara. So now he's saying that from in the devotees, right? That it's the Vishaya Veshadya Abhasa. So their Avesha and Vishaya is an Abhasa. So it's not real. So it's not that we want that to be real. It's not real. Right? So now this is the example that he's giving is very interesting. And so as an example, we have this verse. Valgu smitapanga visarga vikshitayar manoharanting vanitan vrajokasam. And that really, I should read the whole verse, because I should read that whole verse. So now he's going into a whole section here now about Putana. So this is actually quite interesting. He's got 3 verses here, and he's going to talk. So he takes these 3 verses from the Putana Lila, and in particular, this is the scenario that he's taking from there. How could Putana come into Braj? So Putana says, and this is actually the chapter begins that way. So let's follow the way Jiva thinks about it, and then we'll go back in another order. All right? Okay. So, right? So it said here, Valgu Smita, which I was going to say the verse, excuse me. Oh. Yeah, I have these different, I tried to do it such a way. Hey. All right. No, this is not good. Okay, hang on. Yes, here we go. Oh no, that's not it. Yeah. Okay. So Valgu Smitapanga Visarga Vikshitai Manoharantim Vanitam Brajokasam Amang Satam Bhojakarena Rupinim Gopya Sriyam Drashtum Ivagatam Patim. So nice. All right, so this is what he's showing here. All right, so this is the way that the gopis are becoming bewildered when they see the beauty of Putana in her disguise as another gopi. Valgu smitapanga visarga vikshitai manoharantim avanitam vrajokasam amang satam bhojakarena rupinim Gopya Sriyang Drashtumivagatam Patim. So the gopis, they saw. So someone might ask the question, why didn't anybody stop Putana? How could they be illusioned? How could they think how could they not see that this woman was, disguised? That in fact that she was a demoness. She was an ogress. She was a child blood-sucking ogress. And yet she had such powers that she could come by her magic powers like a great witch, a powerful witch. She was able to take the form of a beautiful woman, a motherly woman. She was coming, and they were thinking, this is the, in one of the commentaries there. I'd like to go, actually, if we can do that later. I'll just go through the text first, because I don't have all that much time. But anyway, here. Okay, so the verse was that she was captivating the minds of the inhabitants of Braja by her sidelong glances accompanied with sweet smiles. And so they let her go in. They thought that she was just like one of the commentators says, he sees her and he thinks that they're thinking, am I the mother or is this the mother? Right? She sees this woman coming and so well showing motherly love. Let me give my breast, I lost my child, something, I lost my child and my breasts are full of milk, I need to suckle. Give me your child, let me have this beautiful child, suckle my breast. Is this the mother? Am I a mother or is this the mother? Look at this, the way that this woman is coming and adoring my child. They were thinking like that. So how did that happen? How could they happen? How did they not see? Right? So now it says here, the words, it says, Tada bhasatva vivakshaya cha manoharantim manohareva acharantim iti shishtam uktam. Well, I'm not quite exactly certain what he's saying here with the shishtam uktam. But anyway, he's saying that the words, when he's using the words manoharantim, I find this a bit, I'm trying to understand what he means here. That manoharantim, that she'd captivated their minds. He wants to put Iva in there. Manohareva. So Iva, that as if. So it was as if she were taking their mind. And this is why it's shishtam uktam. It's that she was manohara eva acharantim. She was just acting as if she was captivating their minds. So it's the focus of the verb is not in them, but in her. You follow what I'm saying? that she was behaving in such a way as to be enchanting. It doesn't mean that they were enchanted. That's what he's saying. But, so that's why he uses the word Eva. He wants to add Eva. And he says that either that's a Shishta Mukta, means either it's a Sheshokti, or it's the appropriate thing to say. Right, so tad datta shaktitvam cha tasya tatraiva suchitam. So now, tat datta shaktitvam cha tasyas tatraiva suchitam. So the words captivating the mind are intended to show this captivation of the mind of Braja inhabitants was mere appearance, meaning acting as if captivating their minds. So earlier in the same section, it was hinted that she had been so empowered by the Lila Shakti. So Putna had been empowered by the Lila Shakti to come and enchant them. Why is that? So this is the verse that he's giving now, right? From the beginning of this chapter. So the beginning of the chapter is where it starts. So how can Putna come into Braj? Lila, they're not allowed. You know, it says here, Nayatra Sravanadini Raksho Ghanani Swakarmasu Kurvanti Satutang Bhartur Yatu Dhanyas Chatatrahi. Okay, so Yatra Sravanadini Raksho Ghanani Swakarmasu Kurvanti satutang bhartur yatu dhanyas chatatrahi. So, the chanting and hearing of Krishna Katha. So this is, where is this verse being spoken? This verse is being spoken when Vasudeva is coming back from Mathura. He went to Mathura to pay his taxes, right? Very similar story, right? And he goes to Mathura to pay his taxes. And there he meets Vasudeva. And Vasudeva says to him, you better get back. I have great fear that there's going to be trouble in Vrindavan when you go there. And as he's going back, but then he remembers this, right? So he's thinking, he tells that he took shelter of his Ishta Devata. He took shelter of Narayan. Or sometimes it says that he took shelter of his own child, Krishna. And that he was thinking of him. But he says, Nayatra Shravanadini Raksho Ghanani Swakarmasu Kurvanti Satvatang Bhartur Yatu Dhanyascha Tatrahi. Right? So if a place where people are chanting the holy name and are talking about Radha and Krishna, talking about Krishna, in such a place, right? If the demons cannot go, Yatu Dhani is a kind of witch, right? Putana is also Yatudhani. So they have no place, they can't come there. So if people are just simply engaged in their own duties, they're not committing any sins, and they're engaged in hearing and chanting about the Satvatam Bhartu, about Krishna. Satvatam Bhartu. That then they can, then there's no Yatudhanis can come. So that's what it says. So this is the truth. So he says she cannot come. So it's telling us right from the beginning that this is all being carried out by Lila Shakti. That it's not, that it's all just a play that's going on for the sake of illustrating some point. So witches like Putana can influence only those places where people, while performing their prescribed duties, do not engage in hearing, etc., of the names and pastimes of Bhagavan Krishna, which are capable of destroying the fiends, Rakshoghanani. So just the stories and then holy names. There's one funny story in the childhood of Bhakti Vinod Thakur when he was just a boy. And there was a tree in the garden. And this tree of Jamrul had jams, you know. And so he wanted to go and pick some jams, but the people were all frightened. He says, there's a ghost in that tree. And then someone told him, well, you don't have to worry about ghosts, just chant the name of Rama. If you chant the name of Rama, then no ghosts will come. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was just a boy. He went there and he said, Ram, 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 and he was taking all the fruit from the jams from the tree. So that day on, he says he had no more fear of ghosts because he took shelter of the name of Rama. But you know, Thakur's childhood is very interesting. I find it a very interesting story. But you know, Thakur's whole life stories to me is a quite interesting story. But anyway, so here, this is the thing, so that if you hear about Radha and Krishna, and of course, just like you hear about the pastimes of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, you also have to hear about the devotees. And the more we know about people, the more interesting devotees become. Now, okay, so there's a little comment here. Let me see. So, the point is this. If simply hearing and glorifying Krishna keeps evil away, then how much more evil must be absent from the place where he himself has appeared, namely Braj. Therefore, if Putana was able to enter and deceive the Brajavasis, it must have been due to the power of the Lila Shakti. Yogamaya samavrita, naham prakasak sarvasya, yogamaya samavrita. Right? They don't see me because I'm covered by my Maya potency. Right? So the Lila Shakti is playing a role like that for the purpose of the Lila now. Her purpose is different. Her purpose is to involve Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna. So evil cannot come where Krishna is present. If evil can't come where there is Krishna's name, then how can evil come to where Krishna is himself present? So therefore, if Putana was able to enter and deceive the Brajavasis, it must have been the power of the Lila Shakti, which wished to indulge Bhagavan's desire to reveal this particular pastime, which shows the extent of his compassion. So the Adaya here, what's the purpose of Putana's story? The purpose of the Putana story is to show that the worst possible person, coming with the worst possible intention to deceive Krishna. And she comes and she can actually deceive everybody around. And she thinks there's many, many levels of this story, Putana. Right? But the main level is that Krishna is merciful even to Putana, because Putana came dressed as a devotee. She came looking like a devotee. She came to him with the attitude of a mother. So Krishna is gunagrahi. Krishna takes the sara. He takes the good that's there. So if he can be so kind and merciful to Putana, who came with such an abominable purpose, who was such an abominable person, and he could transform her completely by killing her, really. By being merciful to her through killing her. By putting her misery to an end. Just imagine how miserable a person must be who's so sinful. But even so, because she came and she got that when Krishna's eyes were closed. So when Krishna opened his eyes, did she get to say? She got to see him and see him as the child. And she actually thought of him as a child for one moment. For 1 minute, so that's a very important thing for Raganuga Bhakti. The important thing for Raganuga Bhakti is there. Why? Because if Putana, just by external imitation, she was able to do it, then if we understand what is the principle of internal imitation, right? I imitate the gopis in the Nitya Lila, right? I serve the gopis, I serve Radha in the Nitya Lila, like Raghunath Das Goswami, or like Prabodhananda Saraswati, in this way. And so one who wants to immerse themselves in that kind of thinking. Right? So this is the thing. Putana, she was just imitating. So you imitate. You put on tilak. You put on neck beads. You dress. You take the part. So in this Lila now we're in Chaitanya Lila. So we dress according to Chaitanya Lila. We're playing Chaitanya Lila. This is different Lila. Outer shell But outer shell, inner Lila, they're the inner core, that's Radha and Krishna. So ultimately the goal is that we have to, even if we stay in Chaitanya Lila, we have to have change. And we have to undergo the change that comes from following in the footsteps of the gopis. What does it mean to be, a Rupanuga? What does it mean to be a Raganuga? What does it mean to be a Dasi of Radharani? Right? So at any rate, he said that such a place, if you're in such a place, even if you're in such a place purely mentally, right? Even if you go to such a place purely mentally, then no yatudhani, no ghosts, no witches, no magical powers, and no bad karmas. Nothing is a problem. If the Lila Shakti decides to do something to you for the purpose of increasing your love for Krishna, because that's the purpose of Lila Shakti in the Sadhaka Lila. Sadhaka is a Lila also. Sadhaka Lila. This is Krishna Sadhaka Lila. So the Sadhaka Lila, the story is about the Sadhaka. The Sadhaka is the hero, the Nayaka. So Mahaprabhu is being like the Nayaka of the Sadhaka Lila. Raghunath Das is the Nayaka of the Sadhaka Lila. Rupa and Raghunath are the Nayakas of Sadhaka Lila. They're the heroes. They're the Dharma Veera. They are the Uddhatta Nayakas of truth. Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipuno Sadharma Sanstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanya Karo. Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajananandena Mattaliko Vande Rupa Sanatano Raguyugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. So, Papo Tapa Nikrintano Tanupritam. Govinda Ganam Raite. All the sins of the living beings, they destroyed them by chanting Govinda's name. They had full faith. Gauranga Gunasmritir. They Mahaprabhu's guna. They weren't afraid to say what they think. This Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such Sakat, Yashodananda took the form of Chaitanya in order to experience to reveal the meaning of Radha Krishna Bhakti Sadhana, of Raganuga Sadhana. That's the reason that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. Right? Anyway, so where there is Chaitanya, where there is remembrance of Chaitanya, there are no place for ghosts or witches or bad vibrations. No room for bad vibrations. So we go on. So this continues on with the same story, right? So atai vaidam gatate. Amang satam bhoja karena rupinim gopyak striyang drashtum vivagatam putim. So the gopis, they saw Krishna, that it was Shriya, that it was Lakshmi Devi herself who had come in order to see her husband. So this is I was looking at the commentaries, there's some different disagreement, but the obvious meaning is that she was coming to see her husband. So they were thinking like that, so the way that Jiva Goswami explains is a little bit different. But anyway, the idea is, among Satam Bhoja, she's carrying a lotus in her hand. So beautiful. Valguhasa, this woman is coming, she's completely enchanting. She's like Mohini Devi. She's like Krishna when he bewildered the asuras for the Amrita. That's how beautiful she is. And she's coming in, she's Mohini like that. Manoharantim. And so everyone sees her and they think that this is Lakshmi Devi herself who is coming here to offer homage to her husband. Like that. Because she was holding a lotus flower in her hand and was exquisitely beautiful, the gopis mistook her for Lakshmi who had come to see her husband. So Sriyang Prakrita Sampada Dishtatring Pating Yang Kanchita Tad Uchita Prachina Punya Bhajam Ityartha. Well, you know, this of course would be a little bit strange if it was Narayan was a baby and Lakshmi was an older woman like a mother. So we don't have any place where it says that Lakshmi is the mother of Narayana. Although psychologically there's an argument to be made that all women, even lovers, are mothers. To some degree, you know, Vatsalya Rasa is caught up into the erotic as well, Madhura Rasa. But at any rate, here it was that Lakshmi was coming in. So she was saying, so that Jiva Goswami says, no, don't get confused here. It means that it was just like that she was Lakshmi who was coming to meet some patim. The patim means that it was someone who has performed some pious works in the past, in a previous lifetime, and he's come into the world, and she has come to offer special blessings to him. That's what the meaning here is of the idea that it's Shriya coming to visit her pati. How could it be her pati? It's just a baby, right? That's what the problem is. So the solution to the problem is that it's as though she's coming, Lakshmi. They see her as Lakshmi, who is coming to give someone who is the recipient of her mercy. So they're thinking like that. All right. So then Purvavadeva, so now there's another verse that comes up that says that Tang Tikshna Chittam Ityado Tat Prabhayacha Dharshite Nirikshamane Janani Hiyati Tishtatam Ityuktam. Well, there's a problem, you see. So here, Shri refers to the presiding deity of material wealth. Her husband implies someone who possesses an appropriate piety from the past and is thus a worthy recipient of her blessings. So the kind of thing, you know, the mothers are all there, the women are all there, the baby is there, they're showing off the child. It's the 6th day after the cutting of the umbilical cord. They bury the umbilical, you know, Shashti Puja. This is what the 6th day. This is when this all happens, and so everybody is celebrating. And in that, you know, there are many, many women from the village who are all coming there. So one strange woman comes in, but she's extraordinarily beautiful, and she walks right in. And why didn't anybody stop her? This is the thing nobody can understand, right? So why did she was a witch, and she had the worst intentions. She was such a good disguise, and no one believed that she was a witch. No one even thought that. They thought it's she. They think it was Lakshmi herself who is coming to bless our child. That our child is such from previous lifetime is such punya that now Lakshmi Devi herself is coming to bless our child. That's how they were thinking. They were just, their mouths were open and they didn't say anything one way or the other. That's how good Putana's disguise was. Right? So there was a previous verse, or it's actually a later verse. So seeing that, so the verse goes how? Let me just get that verse. Because it's a great verse also. Verse number 9. This is a fantastic verse. These are really good verses. I really enjoyed these verses. I was studying these verses for yesterday and today. And I went through them all, and it's all about Lila Shakti, because here it says, so 8 and 9 are going together. So this is the important one now. So Tang Tikshna Chittam Ativama Cheshtitam Vikshantara Koshari Parachadasivat Varastriyam Tat Prabhaya Chadharshite Nirikshamane Janani Yatishtatam. So it's a very interesting verse. It says, right, there's a Tam Tikshna Chittam Ativama Cheshtitam Viksha Antara Kosha Parichadasi Vat Vara Striyam Tat Prabhaya Chadharshite Nirikshamane Janani Yatishtatam. So she was Tikshna, these are all adjectives for Putana. She was Tikshna Chitta. Tikshna means sharp, right? So Tikshna Chitta, her purpose was very, very clear. She knew where she was going. She knew had her purpose. She was going to kill that child. Right? That was the only thing that was in her mind. We say Tikshna Buddhi, sharp intelligence, right? Tikshna, intelligence means what? Intelligence means your will, right? So if your will is very sharp, then I want to make money, so you make money. Then you go for hook or by crook. I will make it. It's my one purpose. Huh? There's a Tikshna Buddhi, Tikshna Chitta. So she has one purpose, and that is to please her master Kamsa and to kill the child. So tam Tikshna Chittam Ati Vama Cheshtitam. So Vama Cheshtitam. So Ati Vama Cheshtitam. So the Cheshtitam, her activities. Well, it's two ways you can look at it. Vama can mean very beautiful. Right? Ati Vama Cheshtitam. She's very, so she's Tikshna Chittam. Externally, she's beautiful. Her movements are beautiful. Internally, her purpose is rock solid. So Viksha, Antara Kosha Antara, Antara, Kosha Parichadasiva. So Viksha, so the subject is later on, the subject is Janani. So the mothers, it was Janani. So Janani here, it's interesting because it's a mistake. It's a Sanskrit mistake. And the commentators have to explain that mistake. So Nirikshamane, Dharshite, those are all correct. Those are dual forms. But Janani is not the dual form of Janani. It's a dual form of Janani should be Jananyo. So the correct form would be Jananyo. But if you put Jananyo, then the meter would change. So it's not good for the meter. So the author took a little shortcut, let's say. And he said Janani, because in some other cases, Janani is the dual. Right? Janani can be the dual. In the neuter, in Karanta, then the Ini is the dual. So it has a dual sound to it. So Janani. Anyhow, but it's not Janani because there were two mothers, right? So it's Rohini and Yashoda. So Yashoda is also, Rohini is also involved here. Right? So this is why, Rohini is also present. Balaram is also present there. Yeah? But he's present, he's to the side. Right? So anyhow, so Tikshna Chitati Vama Cheshna Viksha Antara Kosha Parichadasiva. So Kosha Parichadasiva is like a sword. You have a very strong, sharp sword inside the case. Right? You take that sword out, right? So that's a very sharp and dangerous sword. But while it's in the case, you might have very nice jewels and velvet and soft cloth and flowers and whatever else you might put on the sword. Yeah, you might do worship of your sword every single day. Kshatriya would do worship, do some worship of his sword, give it a flower and some chandan. Yeah. So anyway. So Vikshantara, so it's a sword, but that sword is going inside after the decoration, it goes back into its, just like a case. So that's right, so that's Putana, right? So they didn't see her, they saw just the external dress. So Varastriyam, so Antara, she came inside. She's coming inside, so like maybe there was a tent, there a big tent, and then, like the other people are outside, and some people come in, some people are coming inside. You know how it is. Like in a marriage, you have the married couple will be at the center. So you're right, Yashoda and the others are at the center, and the child is there. People are coming, and everyone's adoring the child. The mother is there sitting there, and and everybody's saying, "Oh, how nice!" and they're bringing some presents, and like this kind of situation. Yeah. So in comes Putana, and she's so beautiful. Everybody watches and says, who is this? We don't know who this is, but wow, she's such a beautiful and charming woman. Right? And she's so full of motherly love. She comes showing so much love for the baby. Let me hold him. Let me give my breast for him to suck. Right? So he says, Varastriyam tat prabhaya cha dharshite. So Varastriyam, so they saw her as being a very high quality and very high class, beautiful woman. So tat prabhaya cha dharshite. They were overcome by her effulgence, tat prabhaya, by her influence. So nirikshamane, so even though they're watching, they see her directly, they're looking right at her. Right? Nirikshamane, they're even inspecting her, they're looking at her, they're completely looking, completely enchanted by her. So nirikshamane. So nirikshamane janini yatishtatam. They didn't do anything, they just stood there. Right? So now why was that? Right? So here he's saying what? So her behavior was most, whoops. So the translation there. Seeing that beautiful woman inside the house and overwhelmed by her brilliance, the two mothers stood awestruck and did not intervene. Her behavior was most suave, though she had a cruel heart, like a sword encased in an appealing sheath. How much time? I got it almost finished here. Evam eva kochita tadrishanam api maya bhavabhaso mantabyaha. So in this way, it should be concluded that wherever, if on occasion it so happens, his close associates appear to be affected by illusion, right? And then that is only a semblance of illusion. You shouldn't consider it to be a real illusion. For some, it's serving some purpose. It's serving some purpose in your education, in your spiritual education, right? So that we learn about it, we hear about it, and something is going on there. Krishna is using that opportunity to teach some important tattva about sadhana or about the state of pure bhakti. All right? So here, just let's finish this up. So in the same way, it should be concluded that wherever, if on occasion it so happens, his close associates appear to be affected by illusion, that it is only such a semblance of it. It is not real. That is so in the case of Baladev, when he says, "This must be the Maya of my master and of none else, because it is bewildering even me." So you might remember that. It says, "Prayo mayastu me bhartur nanya mepi vimohini." So only Krishna's mayas could bewilder me. So I also was bewildered. I didn't see that all the cowherd boys and all the cows, that they were actually just Krishna. So his maya was able to deceive even me. So now I can recognize it. I see that it's his maya and his maya alone. Right? So that was the point. The point was that Balaram could be bewildered by Krishna's maya, but nobody else could bewilder Balaram. All right, so that's the end of that section. Just a bit of commentary here by Babaji, not too much. So Sri Jiva Goswami gives an instance where devotees get absorbed in actions or objects other than Krishna. He says, if this is seen, then it should be conjectured that it is Bhagavan's Lila Shakti that is influencing the devotees, because they cannot be influenced by the external energy. Can't be influenced by the external energy. So what's going on? Something else is going on, right? They cannot, that's the axiom. That's our main rule. We don't break that rule. So we don't break that rule. If the guru behaves in some way, right? In some strange way. So that's also teaching something. All right. So that's the Krishna is using for a particular teaching. Something is being taught. So now you have to decide. Because it's a story. When there's a story, how do you tell it is a story? Means you have to decide. If you don't have to decide, then there's no story, right? So what do we do? Mostly what we do is decide, right? We're presented, I didn't choose to be born where I was born. I didn't choose to be my father and mother. I didn't choose my father and mother. That was all given to me. That was what I got when I was born, yeah? That was what was given to me on a platter. Born here in India or born in America, wherever, right? So that's your situation that you're put in from childhood. So that's the way that God is, putting us in a particular situation, so that our story of how we come back to Him becomes more interesting. It's a more interesting story. It's a more wonderful story. If the story is wonderful, then that gives you much more energy. All right, so let me just finish this here. So he says, and the devotees cannot be influenced by the external energy. So the point is that even for a devotee, if you're a devotee and something happens to you, you should not think that it's the external energy. It's the internal energy that's working. It's the Lila Shakti that is operating. Yeah? You are trying to see Krishna, so somehow or another you are now in the part, you are taken inside. You belong now to the internal potency. So now that internal potency means that the Lila Shakti is taking care of you. So Lila Shakti is bringing you into its fold. So in order for the Lila Shakti to bring you into its fold, it has to create a story for you to follow. It has to create a story. So you have to think in your mind, now I'm following a particular story. I'm following like Rupa and Raghunath. I'm following like I'm ready to give up everything in order to just surrender myself to Radha Dasya. Like this. Yeah. So now that's if you're in that position, so that's very good. See, that's what can I say? That's a very good position to be in. At any rate, so he's saying, so if you're influenced, so whatever you're influenced, right? So that's the influence is there. Other people might be saying you're crazy. What is this madness? Yeah. So if you have other people saying that you're crazy, what is this madness? But somehow or another you go on and do it and says, no, I'm going to hold on to this anyway. So what's giving you that power of Shraddha? Where's that coming from? Where is that energy of Shraddha? Where is that energy of, of determination? Where is it coming from? What's the channel for that desire? Right. So once you have been inspired by that desire, that's the internal potency acting. So once the internal potency is acting, then no more ill can befall you. Anything that happens to you now is Lila Shakti. That's playing a game with you. And the game is called how this bhakta attained Radha and Krishna's lotus feet. That's the story. How he attained Radha and Krishna's lotus feet. How he was in Mumbai or how he was in Canada. And now how he's in Vrindavan taking shelter of Radha and Krishna's lotus feet and just hoping for Dasya, Dasya, give me Dasya, Radha, Dasya, 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 like this. Okay? So it is said that wherever the name of Krishna is chanted, so he gives the example, so the apparent influence of the external energy. So he gives the example of the gopis like Yashoda becoming influenced by the beauty of Putana. It is said that wherever the name of Krishna is chanted, fiends and hobgoblins cannot enter. Yet Putana entered where he was personally present. This would be impossible. This would not be possible unless his Lila Shakti had arranged for it so that he could perform the divine play of liberating Putana. Bhagavan's Lila Shakti can influence even people like Balaram, as it happened during the Brahma Mohan Lila. When Brahma stole Krishna's friends and calves, then he expanded himself into exact replicas of both the cowherd boys and the calves. This went on for an entire year without Balaram's knowledge, because he too had been under the influence of the Lila Shakti. So the Jaya Vijaya situation was already discussed at length in several places, so that's going to be in the next section. We'll talk about Jaya and Vijaya and more about that. And they've already been talked about in Krishna Sandarbha, but Vijaya and Vijaya is the next subject that comes up. Jai Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam.